The Soviet spy who once saved the lives of Stalin, Churchill and Roosevelt has died in Moscow. In 1943, Gevork Vartanyan foiled a plot devised by Hitler to assassinate the three Allied leaders at a conference in Tehran.
Prime Time's Peter Oliver joins us in his studio now. He knows pretty much all we need to know about this remarkable individual. Good to see you again, Peter. Yeah. If this all happened back in 1943, Gevork Vartanyan must have lived to a fair old age then.
Well, 87 when he passed away on Tuesday. He died in hospital here in Moscow. But it's really his life that you look back on and say just how amazing this guy was. I mean, 19. He was 19 years old when he took part in that, when he foiled that plot to assassinate the big three, as they were known. But he lived certainly the life of a spy. He was very secretive. We still don't know, and we may never know quite a lot about what he actually got up to. Most of it's still very, very much a closely guarded state secret here in Moscow. But he wasn't just the only one in the family. His wife, Goha, also a spy as well. Now, there's really an extraordinary story of a man who was born in Rostov-on-Don to a family with Iranian and Armenian heritage. Found himself in Tehran at that right place at the right time for when that huge meeting, took place in 1943.
Absolutely. That a little bit, his legacy a little bit explains family, why he spoke so many languages. That's what personally fascinated me about the man, of course, but I think he is most widely known for that Tehran situation. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Well,
the meeting in Tehran in 1943 was incredibly important to the Allied war effort. It was the first time that the three leaders, the big three, as I said, they were known of Stalin, Churchill and Roosevelt, would actually come together and talk. Now, there had also been some frictions, some strain in the relationship between the leaders, so it was important that they could get together and sit down for this important meeting. Well, Adolf Hitler had signed off on a plan by one of the chief espionage officers in the SS to assassinate or to kidnap all three at that conference in Tehran. Now, what Vartanyan was able to do is he was I say 19 years old, a junior member of the intelligence service, of the Soviet intelligence service. He was able to intercept radio communiques by the advance party that was sent to for the assassination. He was able to intercept them, and eventually the Germans found out they knew about it, and the mission was called off. All very exciting stuff. I mean, this is real life Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. But we can hear from the man himself, who was actually here in the RT offices a few years ago to talk to Al Gurnov about what actually went on in Tehran.
I had a group of 7 persons, young people like me, about 17, 18 years old at that time, and we were, how to say, it was a fortune that we were the first to find out when they dropped this from parachute, these 6 people, radio operator. We just succeeded in saying where they are, just made their home in Tehran, because they were dropped about Qum. There was a holy city in Tehran, in Iran. Dropped there, it's about 70 kilometers from Tehran, and they come to Tehran and succeeded to a villa, and they make a radio connection with Berlin. And we just shared our information with British and succeeded in.
Now, these events seem like they make the perfect plot for a movie, and that's exactly what happened. It was called Tehran 43, pretty obviously why. Did it portray the real Gevork Vartanyan?
Well, of course, this is a movie. It is a very, very good movie, but a movie nonetheless. In fact, Vartanyan described it as being a lot of gunfire and nonsense, really, that there's a scene in it where they foil people attempting to infiltrate into the embassy through the sewers. That happened, but everything else really, well, it's all a good tale. But certainly, if you are interested in what we've been talking about here, it's definitely worth checking out Tehran 43. It is a great Soviet movie. It's certainly well worth watching. But as, well, the man himself said, really not much of it happened like that.
How did he spend his final years? Because there are some unfortunate stories about former Soviet greats not living that great of a life in modern Russia.
Well, he spent his later years giving lectures to students. He was only declassified to a certain extent in 2000 that he could actually be named as the man who foiled the attempt to assassinate the big three in Tehran. But as I said before, still an awful lot of his life isn't declassified. Still, most of that may never be declassified.
You're waiting for those memoirs.
Waiting for those memoirs, yes, maybe. Well, I doubt we'll see them, to be honest.
Not from him.
But what he has been doing is also speaking as a media figure to talk about spy stories and espionage. Of course, last year we saw the case with the spy ring, the alleged spy ring, of course, that was broken up in the US. What he did have to say on that was very much the words of an old spy himself, who said, well, if somebody's out to finger you, there's nothing you can do about it. There's no ploy you can put in place. If you've got a traitor in your midst, then there's nothing you can do about it.
Classic spy talk, the perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Peter Oliver, who's been telling us about the life of Gevork Vartanyan, who has passed away. He was, of course, famously the man who saved the lives of Stalin, Churchill and Roosevelt.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.